Fantasy space art. The concepts are astronomy, fantasy space art, illustration techniques. Artists who specialize in this style of fantasy art combine art and science in an exciting hybrid that requires the skill and precise work of traditional fine art. Planetary maps and knowledge of the planets, stars, and endless wonders of the universe are as necessary as a palette and brush to these artists. NASA employs artists to create space art to help improve and understand space programs. In this project, art and science combine together to create scenes of planets and outer space, places we will never have been and never seen. Together we will create planets with textures, galaxies of stars, and space rock. Explain the term astronomy. Describe fantasy art. What does the abbreviation NASA stand for? Boys and girls, this lesson is where I'm going to demonstrate to you how you make your own fantasy space art. Now you get a black piece of construction paper, and this is going to be your background, or your support as I like to call it. White tempera paint and a fairly tough hard bristle brush. Now you're going to not paint with it, you're actually going to use your thumb and you're going to flex it so you get splatters. Okay? So keep it that it's going to splash and splatter and create a galaxy of stars across your black paper. If you get any that shoot across, don't worry, because as you would know, comets would be shooting across those starry skies as well. Okay, I'm happy with that. It doesn't take very long to produce that background. When you've done that, set that to the side. Next thing you need to do is to get yourself a piece of white paper. Spray the white paper, not to flood it, but that you've got a nice even coat. And then you get a plate, or a palette rather, of tempera paints, and I'm just spraying it here at the side so that they're wet as well, because you're going to do wet on wet technique. You'll see here how it works. Because the surface is wet, the water and the paint actually make it travel. Now I'm going to do this and continue this until the whole page is filled. Please avoid black. We don't want to use black because that will actually make your picture look very muddy. Imagine the images that you see of outer space, those beautiful bright vibrant gases and those glorious stars and planets and the colours. Now you continue that until the whole thing is completely covered. When your whole page is completely covered, you will have a piece of plastic wrap already sitting ready for you. Please be ready that you have plastic wrap, because you need the paint to be wet. You then set it over and you pinch it. Okay? Don't cram it all together, because what will happen if you cram it and pinch it too much, you'll turn all these beautiful vibrant colours into a muddy brown colour, and you don't want that to happen. What you're going to get, and here's one that I actually did slightly earlier, are channels and creases and texture. This still has a plastic wrap on it. It's still in the process of drying. We keep the wrap on until it's 100% dry. When it is completely dry, it comes out like this. This was one that I'd actually done earlier as an experiment, and you can see there the veins and the creases. Okay? Now that you've got that, you're going to get a compass and you're going to trace around and do various sizes of circles, because you're going to make this your planets, your galaxies. You do not throw away any of the paper, because the whole thing's going to be used for a purpose. So first get your circles. Okay, now I'm not going to use a compass, I'm going to use my cutter. I'm just going to go around and cut my shapes out. Okay, so you can see right. I'll just follow this around a little bit. I've already got 2 planets, and I'll just adjust my size to get a couple more smaller ones. You'll be able to get a lot more planets than I'm getting, because you'll have your whole paper filled. Okay, now you keep that, just put that to the side, and I'll show you why in a moment. Now, back to our support. This is one that I did slightly earlier and it is dry. Now imagine you've got all your planets cut out of your paper and you're going to arrange them so that you've got them the way you like before you glue them down, okay? I'm actually going to take this one that is going off the edge and I'm going to trim that off, okay? So I've got one coming in, one up there, one lower down. When I'm happy with that, I will glue that down, but initially I'm going to do my landscape as well. So I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to make a landscape along the bottom, a rugged landscape, and overlap it until the whole base is filled. Now don't worry about it overlapping because we can get our scissors or we can use the paper cutter and we can trim the very bottom off so it's a straight edge again. Now there we are. So far I've got my design. When I am happy with that, I will glue it down. Then you're going to get an oil pastel and you're going to imagine where the light source is coming from. So imagine if the light is coming in this direction, then it's going to be light on this side and it's going to cast a shadow on this side. And very carefully just shade the side where the light does not hit. Very carefully, don't go too hard on it. Just create a nice sort of like textured grainy finish like that, and do that to all the planets. And when you've got all the planets done, you're going to do it to the landscaped rock as well. Okay, so just imagine where the light does not hit and where the shadows are cast. Okay, don't overdo it. Just be subtle with it. When you've got that done, you are then going to get some chalk and you can create some stars, some shooting tails of flying comets through the sky, and if you wish you could also create an imaginary cityscape or dome, just very subtle. Okay, and when you've got that all completely done, and here's one that I finished earlier, you'll have something along the lines of this, and this is your fantasy space art. Now let's make some art, boys and girls.